Cry the Beloved Country, Chapter 10. I want to share with you here just a beautiful passage which describes Kumalo's relationship with his nephew. Remember when he visited Gertrude in the prostitution house, living there with her son. He rescued the son from the prostitution home and found another place for him to live. And here he is playing with his little nephew, along with Gertrude. And we're going to start on the top of about fourth line down on page 93. So follow along. Kumalo would pick up the child and put his hand under the shirt to feel the small warm back and tickle and poke him till the serious face relaxed into smiles, and the smiles grew into uncontrollable laughter. Or he would tell him of the great valley where he was born, or the names of hills and rivers, and the school that he would go to, and the mist that shrouded the tops above Ndocheni. Of this the child understood nothing, yet something he did understand, for he would listen solemnly to the deep melodious names, and gaze at his uncle out of his wide and serious eyes. And this to the uncle was pleasure indeed, for he was homesick in the great city, and something inside him was deeply satisfied by this recital. Sometimes Gertrude would hear him, and come to the door and stand shyly there, and listen to the tale of the beauties of the land where he was born. Where she was born. This enriched his pleasure, and sometimes he would say to her, "Do you remember?" And she would answer, "Yes, I remember," and be pleased that he had asked her. But there were times, some in the very midst of satisfaction, when the thought of his son, Absalom, would come to him, and then in one fraction of time, the hills with the deep melodious names stood out waste and desolate beneath the pitiless sun. The streams ceased to run. The cattle moved thin and listless over the red and rootless earth. It was a place again of old women and mothers and children. From each house something was gone. His voice would falter and die away, and he would fall silent and muse. Perhaps it was that, or perhaps he clutched suddenly at the small listening boy, for the little one who would break away from the spell and wriggle in his arms to be put down, to play again with his blocks on the floor. And though he was searching for something that would put an end to the sudden, unasked-for pain, the thought of his wife would come to him, and of many a friend that he had, and the small children coming down from the hills, dropping sometimes out of the very mist on their way to school. These things were so dear to him that the pain passed, and he contemplated them in quiet and some measure of peace. Who indeed knows the secret of the earthly pilgrimage? Who indeed knows why there can be comfort in a world of desolation? Now God be thanked that there is a beloved one who can lift up the heart in suffering, that one can play with a child in the face of such misery. Now God be thanked that the name of a hill is such music, that the name of a river can heal, even the name of a river that runs no more. Who indeed knows the secret of the earthly pilgrimage? Who knows for what we live and struggle and die? Who knows what keeps us living and struggling while all things break about us? Who knows why the warm flesh of a child is such comfort when one's own child is lost and cannot be recovered? Wise men write many books in words too hard to understand, but this, the purpose of our lives, the end of all our struggle, is beyond all human wisdom. O God, my God, do not thou forsake me. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil if thou art with me. But he stood up. That was Msmangu talking at the door. It was time to continue the search.